we're here to talk about your first exhibition, I understand. So tell me a bit, how has this exhibition come about?
I've been interested in photography in a fairly serious way, I suppose, for the last 10 years, and produced a lot of mainly architectural stuff. And I did a course in doing exhibitions, and I thought, why not? And then I met you, and we realised we both had an interest in doing something similar. So we kind of thought, well, let's give it a go, and here we are.
Okay, so in this exhibition that we're doing together, what are you presenting to the audience?
I'm presenting images of the city, and I mean the financial district. They're photographs that have been taken over about the last year of the iconic buildings in the city. Some of them are in Canary Wharf, such as the main Canada One Tower. Some of them are in the old city, such as the Lloyd's building, and buildings that people typically might recognise.
So how do you differentiate yourself in these images?
Yeah, people do say they're quite different, and the reason is that unlike an ordinary image where you just get your camera, you wait for a perfect day and you press the button at exactly the right time to get that beautiful image of the building. These are not one single image, they are photographs or images, pictures that have been taken over a wide range of times, over a period of about 6 months. I've gone out there and taken photographs of the same building in rain and sun, in nighttime, daytime, winter, summer, and from the same position now I end up with multiple images. And I then merge these together. So you end up with an image that parts of it are in sunshine. It might be at the top of the image, it might be bright sunshine. Further down you might have windows that are nighttime, you can see the light coming back from them. On one side the foliage and the trees might be all gone, it's winter, and maybe it's raining. On the other side it's trees with lots of leaves and it's a beautiful sunny day.
And by merging these pictures together, what kind of expression do you want to give to the viewer?
I suppose I'm trying to give them an image of not just a snapshot of the building at one particular time. We've got lots of beautiful photographs like that, but a sense of the building over time, and actually also from slightly different places, because I never could find the exact same flagstone. I took the original images in. So one of the effects of bringing all these images together is that they actually don't quite line up. They're not exactly the same, and when you come together you find that windows get offset, displaced, the vertical pieces of the architecture get kinked, and it starts to look a bit weird. I guess the original strength or structure of the building starts to seem as if it's fragmenting.
And how did you come about this idea of merging pictures of financial buildings into something that is probably quite not what you expect from some of those buildings? So how did you got the idea to the pictures?
Well, the technique was sort of an accident, as most photography is. We try things out, and I was just curious, what would it be like to merge two images of exactly the same view taken at different times? What would happen? So I guess that's being a bit experimental. But when I was looking at the results, I was very struck by some of these images, you look closely, it does look as the buildings fall into pieces gently. The windows, as I said, can get spun off into space. Funny things start happening. And I guess I was just aware when I started this back last summer about our post-Brexit world and about what's been happening since then, and how the story of what the financial city is has kind of got a little bit more uncertain. And it started to strike to me that there was a bit of a parallel here between what was happening in the city in its certainty, and the city is always trying to trade on that, safe as banking, safe as houses, and here I've got banking houses that actually they don't look very safe anymore. And I was just struck by the parallel between those two.
And what is it that fascinates you? Because I see a fascination in you telling about the banking buildings not being as safe as they are. Does it have something to do with your interest for architecture, or is there anything else in that kind of sense that goes in with that?
Well, as you know, I'm also a psychotherapist, and one of the things I notice I'm always very interested in is when clients come to me with stories that don't quite make sense, with the equivalent of bits of building that aren't where they should be, and it's night here, it's day there. When the story of their lives doesn't have a lovely, perfect sort of Hollywood film script flow to it, I'm struck by those clients are often quite challenged in some way, emotionally vulnerable, or just they're quite fit in their lives. So I am interested in the idea of the stories we tell ourselves and how they work together. How do they mesh nicely together? Or is it a bit messy? And for most of us, actually, our stories are quite messy. We're human, after all. And I was just struck that these buildings now, in these images, don't look as perfect as the architects originally envisaged them. And there's a messiness to them, a bit of a reality. So I'm struck by the story in the images is confused, and the story of the city is confused. And stories are kind of how we think about the world. And I was just very interested in the metaphors that started coming into play there.
And when I have been looking at your pictures, or for people that has not looked at the pictures yet, what is it that you want to leave them with when they go away?
I guess the main thing I'd like to leave them with is just don't take life as such a certain thing. Don't pin everything down on everything. Have a little space for play, for creativity, for, and see what it's like when you stick the windows over there. Because actually some quite magic things can happen when stories do that. That's creativity. So banking architecture in particular has kind of removed a lot of that, because the architects have been tasked with creating buildings that look so certain, so safe, that there's no wiggle room. Well, there's lots of wiggling going on in these images. So maybe I'm just being a little bit playful and saying, is it as certain as it looks?
I think we should stop here, because I think that gives a very good ending.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.